And the first editorials are in. The Sunday Telegraph endorses the coalition and says the New South Wales Labor government is finished. It will go down as it should in spectacular fashion. It's pretty black and white. The Sun Herald, on the other headline, is "Victory is yours, Barry. Now earn our trust." Bill.
Yeah, well, imagine what your headline would be if Labor won. No, look, obviously O'Farrell's going to win the election. The biggest thing probably for him is expectation management. He's going to have enormous... I mean, it's a nice problem to have, a large majority and so forth, but there's going to be enormous expectation on O'Farrell to fix New South Wales, and not a lot of attention has been focused on them to this point. It's all been about the disintegration of New South Wales Labor. And a friend of mine sort of is privy to internal polling and stuff, says essentially the focus groups especially, there's been very little... People don't really care who O'Farrell is, they're just going to vote for him. You know, they just so want to get rid of this Labor government, they just, they'd vote for, that Barstool or something. So,
a couple of people on the Telegraph forum made that point, that we didn't know who you were until tonight.
So, exactly. So suddenly, as of probably, we should say from Sunday week, so Sunday next week, suddenly the spotlight will be on Mr O'Farrell and an enormous weight of expectation.
I saw somebody writing this week that, Barry O'Farrell's under huge pressure to say what he's going to do. He's actually not under huge pressure, and that's the point. He's under huge pressure to stay upright, breathe in and out, and look vaguely sensible, and
to win the election. But I think it was the Telegraph that made the point this morning that he offers a safe pair of hands. What the state really needs is action and energy.
Indeed, and I agree with Phil. I think the expectations will come after the election result, and then he's also going to have the massive rump on the backbench of all sorts of people he probably doesn't even know.
It's a lot to tidy up here.
That's right.
Exactly, Barry, and my point is this. This is not a sort of thing you can look at the first 100 days of Barry O'Farrell. You've got to be looking at the first term. The Augean stables have nothing on the job that O'Farrell faces to remedy what is basically 20 years of mistrust in Liberals. Because... in Liberals, because it's been 20 years since the Liberals lost popularity in New South Wales. So he has to recapture that ground. And I don't know whether you're going to ask us for our predictions, or is that later in the show?
No, you can, by all means.
Well, I've seen a lot of stuff out there, particularly from the Labor side, so, we could be reduced to single-digit seats in the...
Around 20 seems to be about...
I think that's where it is. I saw, Graham Richardson earlier this year was talking about 14 and so on and so forth. Yeah. I think that there is a lot of spin coming out from Labor, from Sussex Street particularly, the people who are managing Labor, and they have been predicting on the low side, because when it just does come in over 20, probably 24...
And to put that in perspective, what's the size of the House? 93 and 20 seats to Labor.
But when they sort of get more, significantly more than the predictions, then they'll be able to say, boy, didn't we turn it around with some genius in the last days? What a brilliant campaign we ran.
Well, also
and that's the only thing they'll take from this.
They might be weatherproofing themselves against the federal implications, the carbon tax and the impact that had.
Sure.
And it comes in under 20, then they will say, well, that was a result of the carbon tax.
That was federal.
And would that be a fair call?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's entirely understandable that Tony Abbott and O'Farrell have linked the carbon tax this election, but Labor's always going to get thumped. You can link anything to this election now and then write it, but, for next Sunday, Abbott will say, without doubt, the people of New South Wales have spoken on the carbon tax. The rest of the nation is next. But Labor's going to get thumped long before Gillard pressed the button on the carbon tax. So, it's a nice, convenient vehicle. You can hitch quite a few things onto, I think, from next Sunday onwards.
Well, there's another late issue that kicked in, and that is some prominent ALP figures are having a go at Christina Keneally at the last minute, because she said that she showed the door to 23 MPs. Now, some of those MPs were not shown the door. They left
they found it
voluntarily.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. And I think that one of the big issues for Labor post-election will be looking at who leads the party, and already it's been suggested that John Robertson wants the job. And people within Labor are telling me that they are absolutely dismayed at the amount of resources that have been pulled to support Robertson in his seat, where he already has a margin of 22%. And these people are incredulous that other seats where they have significant support are being depleted of resources to prop up this former trade union boss, the guy who cost New South Wales $15 billion.
Already starting work on the next one. Barry O'Farrell, of course, has put out the contract with the people, 1 million copies or something. He's signing a lot of them. Christina Keneally had this to say about that.
Just check if this contract has a cooling off period. Good luck to him. That's a great use of his time. But when he does need medical attention for his RSI injuries, he can go to a public hospital where he's confident. He knows that he's going to get the care that he needs. Go with God, Barry.
She's keeping up a remarkable sense of humour, I think, given everything.
Well, indeed, and I think, the other point about the spinning, the diabolical situation too, is that they're trying to save the furniture. So she's trying to keep up the sort of happy face, but they're also talking down their likely result in the hope that maybe some last-minute voters will waver and think we don't want a complete Liberal domination in the Parliament, and they might actually claw back a little bit of that vote.
I'm surprised that O'Farrell put out that contract. I don't think he needed to get into that level of detail, and they'd actually offered to resign if he didn't fulfil his promises. And some of those promises are fairly big. There's a couple of rail lines, metro rail lines that have been notoriously hard for previous governments to build. Yeah. I think he's going to have to probably break some promises when he gets in and realises the extent of things, and with the expectation on him. And I thought that was probably just... that's the sort of thing you do if it's going to be a tight election. I don't think you need to do that.
I think, though, Barry, it's quite interesting that O'Farrell is now the longest-serving opposition leader across Australia. And, in effect, there are a lot of changes. This is not a traditional state election. One, we have optional preferential voting, and this way makes it difficult to predict the outcome with great accuracy. Two, O'Farrell is seen in New South Wales as an incumbent because we've had so many failed Labor premiers.
Well, but being the longest-serving opposition leader is not necessarily a badge of honour.
Sorry, Karen. I think this is why he's had to run the sort of incumbents campaign and put out rather extravagant promises.
No, I would have thought you'd take a different approach. If you're going to win so easily, why make extravagant promises?
Just say, I'll fix New South Wales and I'll do what it takes. And
if he does do what Phil suggests and breaks his promise, he can't exactly do a Julia and say, oh, no, I didn't expect this result. I've had to break my promise. Yeah.
But the campaign relentlessly has been against him, saying, where are your policies, Barry?